Hi, welcome back to another one of my videos in this series. And basically, today is a Saturday, and I'm actually driving to work today. I usually work on weekends and public holidays, while during the weekdays, I'm usually at home drinking coffee and clearing my backlogs. So, yeah, I mean, today is gonna be about an hour and a half drive to the destination if there is no traffic jams. But if there is a traffic jam, it's probably gonna be longer than that. But I'm not gonna talk for 1 hour, 1.5 hours. I'm just gonna talk for a while, and you guys do let me know in my videos. Do let me know in the comments. If my videos are too short or too long, or what do you want me to talk about in my next video, and I will read through all your comments and see which of the topics that you guys are interested in. I'm probably gonna talk about it in future videos. Don't try not to ask me things about politics and stuff, because I really am not knowledgeable in politics, and I really don't want to talk about politics. And try to keep it general, nothing too specific, and nothing too discriminating, and nothing to to stir up some peaceful people, religion, stuff of that sort. Stay away. Anything like cars, games, Japan, tools, guns. No, I wish one of the comments from one of you guys in the previous video actually asked me about guns in Japan. Well, I mean, we get to play airsoft here, like in Hong Kong and in UK and some other countries, but with regards to laws governing real firearms, Japan is like any other country. It's pretty strict, and I don't suppose you can actually keep an actual gun in your house, unless you're like a hunter or something. You go out and remove all the wild animals from certain community, and if you're one of those hunters, you probably can have a rifle or hunting weapon in your house, but it is subjected to a lot of very strict checks. Before you even have a gun, you gotta send in for registration and stuff, and the police will come and check your house and then get you to fill up a bunch of documents, and where you're gonna keep your guns and how safe is the place gonna be. It's a lot of hassle, a lot of paperwork, and you're subjected to a lot of checks. And every time you want to take your gun out, you gotta let the local police station know where will you be taking your gun, at what time, at which road you'll be taking, what time you return home. And it's just pretty strict, But yeah, I mean, guns. I'm from Singapore. I've been through army for 2.5 years, so shot a few rifles. They're pretty fun if you using them for your personal hobby, But other than that, it's pretty dangerous. And Japan being one of the safest country in the world, not a lot of gun-related crimes, but there are still some violent crimes once in a while. So guns are out in Japan. I mean, real life guns, I don't suppose I will be, handling one anytime soon in Japan. But other than that, airsoft, yeah, I really want to get into it, but not a lot of people here that I know, because I don't live in a big city, so don't really have a lot of friends who play airsoft, and it's gonna be an expensive hobby, and my family, especially my wife, I don't think she's gonna like it if I spend like a ton of money on buying equipment and well, okay, basically my funds after I'm married and after my son is born, I kind of stashed up a lot of my funds for my son. I would rather buy stuff and toys and new gadgets for him than for myself, because it's just different. When you have a family, I feel happy seeing my son happy than see myself happy. But that's just one of the really good things about being a dad. You get to enjoy quality time with your children. So yeah, that down. Today's video maybe might be a little longer because I kind of want to talk about me being Singaporean because some of you, most people will probably know a lot about Singapore. You know, even if you're not living in Singapore, even if you're not a Singaporean. But basically, Singapore is like this little tiny city state that is located right at the bottom tip of Malaysia. You know, the Malaysian peninsula or something. You know, and Singapore kind of gained its independence in 1964, 65. I really gave all my history lessons back to my teacher. I know it's about 1964, 65, maybe it's 64. I don't know. But Singapore just celebrated like 50 years of independence this year in 2015. So it's gotta be like 1965. Okay, I got it. That is 1965 and October. Not October. Independence Day in Singapore is like August the 9th. Yeah, 8/9. So the location is itself, Singapore, the land itself, has a long history. It was founded by the British guy, Mr. Raffles, Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles, and like all places that were discovered by the British, we speak English. English is our main language, and well, basically when Singapore gained independence from Malaysia, and anyone was that who were in Singapore at that time, everyone became a Singaporean. So Singaporeans, you know, you have Chinese, Malays, Indians, Eurasians, you know, a lot of different nationalities. So the real Singaporean, I don't know who really they are. Maybe, you know, you dig up a little bit on history, you might know. But basically, when Singapore gained independence in 1965, everybody became Singaporean. And I grew up in the 80s. It was a good time to grow up in. We didn't have internet. We didn't have cell phones, you know, when during my time. So we saw the internet came into the big picture. We saw cell phones came into the big picture. So we kind of experienced all that. So it's kind of nice. Like back then, you know, you don't really have Facebook, Instagram, or you know, Twitter. So we spent a lot of time. When I was young, I spent a lot of time playing outdoors. You know, like all sorts of games and activities in Singapore. But these days, when I see the younger generations in Singapore, not only in Singapore but everywhere else, even in Japan, you know, everyone is just little children. You know, like maybe even before preschool, or maybe, you know, in primary school, or in the States you call it elementary school. Everyone is just glued to their iPhone, iPads, and tech-savvy gadgets. So in a way, they lose a lot of actual interactions between their friends and whatnot. So yeah, I kind of saw that transition. And being out for 10 years, Singapore has changed a lot. You know, places that I used to hang out with my friends, places that I used to know, most of them are like just like gone. You know, the government just demolishes places and make the space available for new buildings that are more commercially viable, I would say, because Singapore, it's a small city-state. There's not a lot of land, so any place that is not making the most out of it, the government will probably take it away and redo everything. So, you know, when I was young, you know, nobody would have thought like a casino would be possible in Singapore, not even a racetrack, you know. So back then, everyone in Singapore would just drive to Malaysia, Genting Highlands, and go there and have, you know, visit the casinos there and have some fun, you know, maybe drive to Malaysia, Sepang circuit, you know, and play with the cars. Because back then, these two issues were not possible in Singapore, but suddenly the Singapore government decides, you know, maybe we should build a casino, or no, maybe we should build two. Hey, maybe we should have a racetrack, you know. So yeah, you have the only night city race F1, you know, in Singapore, the Singapore F1 circuit, and then you have two casinos in Singapore. You know, those were just bringing in a lot of money for the Singapore government. For the country itself, it's good, but things kind of grew so fast in Singapore that I find it hard to catch up. And cars, especially cars in Singapore, it is just too expensive. Like you're actually paying like 3, 4, maybe 5 times the actual value, the actual value of the car. Say like a regular car in Japan, a Japanese car, any brand new car in Japan, it's probably about like 40, maybe 50,000 Singapore dollars. But when it hits Singapore shores, you'll be expected to pay like what, 200,000, maybe 150,000 Singapore dollars for a brand new car. So that is really expensive. But you could understand like the government in Singapore would definitely want to control the number of cars on the road because we don't have much land. The country is small, so if everyone is able to afford a car, it will be like really crazy. Like everywhere there will be traffic jams, the air pollution will be bad. There'll be a lot of problems. So in a way, yeah, it's a good way to control costs by raising prices. But then again, a lot of people still buy cars in Singapore, and those who actually buy cars in Singapore have to tie up a huge sum of money for the car. So you can stay in Singapore and complain all you want, but nothing's gonna change because after all, the Singapore is run by the government. The government basically controls Singapore. If you don't like it, you either change the government, change the policies, or you leave. I choose to leave because I can't do much in Singapore. I choose to leave for a lot of reasons, but I guess some of the reasons is because I don't want to pay like 5, 6 times or 3, 4 times or whatever. I want to pay for a product that is based on the actual value of the product and not pay a ridiculous price just because somebody sets a law. So I don't complain. I leave. I go somewhere else and buy it. And other than that, Singapore, it's like Japan. It's very safe. You don't get a lot of crazy crimes, and laws in Singapore, especially against like drug trafficking and guns and stuff like that, are pretty strict. In my time, if you get caught like doing drugs and stuff, above a certain like limit, they hang you. They just kill you like that. And guns, it's pretty strict as well. If you own if you are caught having a real firearm, you probably get jail for 7 years or something. In Singapore, they actually cane you, as a punishment, for committing certain crimes. Like they cane you 12 strokes or 8 strokes or 24 strokes. There's this guy, like a professional who just trains himself every day at just whipping people's asses. And I don't want to be at the end of that whipping rod or something. It's just crazy. And there was one very prominent case in Singapore, like back then during the time where Bill Clinton was the president of the United States. One of the American tourists, Michael Fay, he came to Singapore and he kind of like sprayed graffiti on the cars or something, and he was caught. And the Singapore government was going to cane him. And Bill Clinton, back then, he was the president of the United States of America. He wrote a letter to the Singapore government and says, hey, don't cane Michael Fay. Just let him go, let him come back to the States. And the Singapore government was like, nope, you come to my country, you play by my country's rules. You commit a crime, we catch you, that's it. You're gonna get caned. And the Singapore government basically ignored the letter and just caned him. It was a big issue. It was in the news or something. It was like this big thing. Like wow, even the president of the United States of America couldn't do anything about it. And that is Singapore. Even to today, every time you take a flight to Singapore, they make you sign like this card, like I don't know, what's that, registration card or something for foreigners to touch down in Singapore. And there is this fine print printed in red and bold at the bottom of the card or something. It says the penalty for drug trafficking is death or something. You don't want to mess with the Singapore government. In a way, it's good because it makes Singapore safe. But then, compared to Japan, like Japan, the laws are strict, but in a way, it's not as strict as Singapore. Like some violent criminal could have like be on trial or be in the prison for like 20 years or something, and then he's on like a death penalty, and they don't kill him yet. I don't know. There's a lot of like things are involved. Like you just don't kill him straight. Like in Singapore, if you're found guilty, they'll probably kill you like in a really short time. I don't know. But Japan is just much longer than that. But yeah, I mean that's Singapore. If you haven't been to Singapore, I suggest you pay Singapore a visit. It is a nice country. It's hot. It's right near where the equator is, so it's really hot, humid all year round. Basically, weather report, you don't have to look at it. It's either sunshine, cloudy, or rain. There's no other seasons in Singapore. So yeah, I mean I highly recommend anyone who have not been to Singapore, just go there and have fun. Maybe 1 week, 2 weeks. 2 weeks is more than enough. Food is good in Singapore. It's cheaper than Japan because Singapore don't have much natural resources, so we import all our rice, vegetables from neighboring countries. So you can get probably really cheap prices for all the ingredients, and local food good. Chinese, Malay, Indian, anything you want to eat, anything of that there's a lot of variety, and it's much cheaper than Japan. Japan, it is expensive, yeah. So food is good, and yeah, I mean Singapore, highly recommended for a short getaway. You might like it, but now maybe it's a little bit expensive, so compared to the past. And back then, I used to think that Japan was very expensive before I came to Japan, like maybe 10 years back. But now Singapore has kind of like went ahead, overlapped Japan, and ranked one of the most expensive city in the world in 2015 or something, according to some report online. Okay, I'm like, okay, on the GoPro it says 17 minutes, so I'm 17 minutes into the recording, so I'm sorry. This video was I thought I was going to keep it at 15 minutes, but I went to 17 minutes, so I'll try to cut it before 20 minutes. And okay, once again, yeah, I just want to thank all you guys for your support in this new series that I'll be working on. And I think most of the videos in this series will be just me talking in the car when I'm driving, or maybe I try to do some other videos of me talking, maybe not in the car. But let me know what you think of this new series. If you like it, if you don't like it, how I should improve it, and what would you like to see, what would you like me to talk about. And today's a really good, bright sunny day. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Drive safe, and be kind to animals, respect your parents, and have a nice weekend. See ya.